Welcome back to Music 101. We're going to be discussing Chapter 3 today, talking about listening to music and putting it into words. So music is a non-verbal art, and sometimes music does not easily translate into words because it's so subjective and it can mean so many different things to different people. Aaron Copland was a modern composer, and he created 3 planes of listening. The sensuous, which is music washes over the listener; expressive, emotional power at forefront; musical, delve into the inner workings of music. So there's 3 ways of listening. So when you're listening to music, it can either be just the beauty of the music washing over you. There's really no connection emotionally. It's just listening to the beauty. Expressive would be the emotion that you feel. So you listen to your favorite song and it makes you cry because it makes you think of a memory that you had with your mom or your dad or something like that. That would be the expressive plane of listening. Musical would be actually understanding and analyzing the music, using the knowledge that you have to understand the music. So, in analysis of music, we have a plethora of music vocabulary that we've kind of already talked about, such as rhythm and tone and time signature and key signature and minor key and major key. So applying these terms and concepts will kind of help you when you are listening. So it helps you determine the genre and performing forces, place within the historical period, note prominent moments and sign spots. So as you're listening, you want to be listening for those prominent moments that make a piece. Identify organizational features. Overall sound, is it consonant or dissonant, major or minor? Describing the musical conversation. Describe overall mood objectively and subjectively. Research the work and consider ideas of others. So this is some ways that you, when you are analyzing music and applying your terms, you can do that. So using the terms that we know, you can determine the genre and performing forces, meaning listening, is this a modern piece, is this a classical piece, is this a Gregorian chant, which you'll get a chance to do in our listening tests later on in the course. Going back over to signpost, if you listen to music, you know certain things are specifically Mozart or specifically Bach, things like that, and you'll be able to kind of hear as we go into the next few chapters, as well as the consonant or dissonant, major or minor, that type of thing. You'll begin to listen to the different aspects of the music and be able to know the difference between them. So there's a little bit finer details of analysis. We have the melodic motion, so where the melody is moving, the rhythm and meter and tempo. So what if there's an unusual rhythm, or the meter, what time signature it is in. Is it in 4/4? Is it in 3/4? And the tempo, is it fast or slow? And texture, is it very thin? Is it a solo voice line or a solo instrument line, or is it very thick with multiple stacks, instruments, or harmonies woven together? So now that we've kind of talked about what you can talk about, ways to kind of how. So you want to focus your perspectives, don't be comprehensive. Achieve balance, descriptive analysis, and personal reaction. So you don't want to completely spend a bunch of time on descriptive analysis, but you also want to spend some time in your personal reaction to the music. So when you're discussing music, you want to construct your argument by comparing with something you know. So for example, if you're listening to an unknown piece and you're like, oh, that sounds a whole lot like Mozart, then you could go back and reference a Mozart piece that you know is Mozart and compare the two and be like, oh, this does sound a lot like Mozart. Evaluative statement to start. So they want you to start looking at the music, kind of evaluate what you think it is from the beginning. Argue against the general description of a genre. So, in other words, this unknown piece that you're not sure who wrote it, it has a lot of the different characteristics to this genre, so that's why you think it belongs there. And description or analysis that leads to conclusion. So, because this particular rhythm or this particular format was being used, that is why it's Mozart. Just don't get discouraged as you listen to our listening examples. in the next few chapters. It does take time. You have to listen to various examples of the same composer as well as the same time period in order to kind of start to understand how these things fit together. So be encouraged. It does take some time. So we'll be doing that coming in the next few chapters. Here's some artwork in the historical area, and you can see how they share styles and even subjects, but they're two different, or I'm sorry, they are the same artist, so you can tell the same time period, but different artists, my bad, I'm sorry. And that way you can tell that there's slight differences between the two, and you would be able to determine which artist painted which, even though it would take some time studying the other paintings and things like that in order to determine. And that's all for chapter 3. Before I do let you go, I do want to describe to you one of your assignments that you had was a listening log called Identification of Instruments. So this is on Canvas, or will be on Canvas soon. And what you're going to do is print this out, and or you can type it if you would like. And you're going to identify the instruments in Britten's The Young Person's Guide to the Orchestra, which there is a example of in your digital resources, but I can also post one on Canvas if that will help you. A video kind of helps because you can actually see them. But for example, you would find each one of these instruments and label what they are. So for example, flute is categorized as a woodwind brass or whatever, and you would place an A in the appropriate spot. So flute. So I hope that makes any sense with that. So you have all of the instruments here, and then you have the different categories this way. I'm going to go ahead and show you where Britten's Young Person's Guide to an Orchestra is. You're going to go over to playlists in your digital resources, and it's the first one to pop up. So there's a listen one, and I believe there's a video as well. No, it looks like it's just a, oh, they have a listening guide. Look at there. That's really cool. So you can use all of these different resources to help you listen. Here's the link to listen to the actual, oh, there is a video, yay. So there is a listening clip as well as a watching clip that you can use to help you fill out your Identification of Instruments guide. Just remember, I am taking an average of all of your quizzes. You don't have to take them all, but the more you take, the better your average will be. And it will help you prepare for our exam, which will be the next time we meet, February 4th. This Identification of Instruments and your quiz will be due by the end of next week, which is February 1st. So I hope you guys will have a great rest of the week, and I will see you when it's time for our exam, February 4th.